Yes, dear friends, I am Srinivas Ayyagari in front of you. Once again, I want to make this video on a subject which is of global importance now, which is in fact burning the entire Europe directly, indirectly, across the globe. And I feel this particular topic will be useful to the student community who are going to attend various competitive exams and interviews. Yes, dear friends, the topic of today is the expansion of Nato. The four-letter word Nato has been occupying the headlines, as I have told you, for the past many months. And the expansion of this Nato, has been one of the main reasons that Russia alleges that it is going to harm its own security interest. When Ukraine applied for the membership to NATO for its admission as one of its members, Russia has raised the strong reservations that Ukraine, being a neighbor, joining the NATO forces is going to harm our security interest. Now let me begin my talk as to what is this NATO, what is this North Atlantic Treaty Organization, when it got formed, and what are its rules and regulations. After the conclusion of Second World War, the world got divided into bipolar. One is the group led by the SSL, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR, that is called Eastern Bloc. They formed their own alliance with the name Warsaw Pact. The Western nations, led by the USA, under the presidency of Truman, he suggested that we also should have all the democratic nations join together, which are mainly in Europe and North America, join together as a military alliance for mutual security guarantees under the name of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This NATO got formed on the 4th of April 1949 in Brussels, which is now part of Belgium. Initially, during 1949, hardly there were 12 nations which formed this NATO. During 1991, friends, you must be all knowing, when Gorbachev was the head of the Soviet Russia, his policies regarding perestroika and glasnost have resulted in total collapse of Eastern powers, and the total Russia got disintegrated into various independent states. Once they are out of that iron curtain, most of the nations, they went into the democratic setup and they had their own democratically elected setup, and those nations, they have shown interest in joining NATO to safeguard their own securities. So the strength of the NATO has gone up from 12 during 1949 to 30 now. Now Ukraine has already applied for a membership, and the application is under consideration, and that is the main reason why Russia has started the offensive. NATO is an alliance mainly formed with guarantees to individual nations. Suppose any other country outside the NATO declares a war on any of its members, on all of its members, the response will be given unitedly under the banner of NATO. So the NATO is governed by a council, North Atlantic Council. It is a governing body for NATO. Each member country will be sending a member to that North Atlantic Council, and they will be meeting very frequently in Brussels, and they will discuss the happenings on a global basis and the steps that they have to take to counter and to safeguard their own country's interest, security interest. So this North Atlantic Council has framed certain rules and regulations. Whenever any other country in Europe wants to join this NATO, the first criteria should be all the 30 members should unanimously approve for admission of that particular country as its member. Number two, that particular country which is intending to be part of NATO should be a democratically elected government. Number 3, there should be a guarantees that the minority sections are being looked after safely without any discrimination in that particular country. Finally, that country, once it is admitted into NATO alliance, should be prepared to spare 2% of their gross domestic product towards the security requirements of NATO. So these are all the basic requirements. And now recently, the situation is now that there are 2 countries which were almost non-committal and very peace-loving nations, a tiny nations but very powerful both financially and militarily. One, that is Finland, which is having 830 miles of joint borders with Russia, and other country, Sweden, one more peace-loving country, a very small country. They have shown interest to join the NATO alliance, seeing the threat posed by the Russian aggression on Ukraine. So these 2 countries also, they thought they should protect their own security interests, and this can be possible only once they join the NATO alliance. And here the problem has come when out of the 30 nations, 29 nations unanimously accepted for taking Sweden and Finland into their fold. Only one country, that is Turkey, put a strong objection, saying that it will not be a party, that country will not be supporting entry of both Sweden and Finland into their alliance. The main objection raised by Turkey is, again, one more story, that is Kurdistan. Again, I will be making a separate video regarding the cause of a problem, the sufferings of the Kurds. And they don't have independence for decades itself. They have been fighting for their homeland and their own human rights and all. They have been raising unrelenting war in a guerrilla type war, living in deep mountainous parts of the borders of Iran, Iraq, Syria and Turkey. So now Turkey is opposing creation of independent Kurdistan. They allege these Sweden and Finland are indirectly supporting the militarily and financially in the uprising of Kurdistan and indirectly hurting the security interests of Turkey. So this is the problem for which the Turkish president has raised serious observations, and Mr. Blinken, the Ministry of State of the Secretary of State in USA, yesterday came in news, and he was very confident that he can resolve the issue and he can convince Turkey to change their opposition for entry of Sweden and Finland. So this is basically about NATO alliance. In the meanwhile, UK has come forward to take care of the security interests of this both Sweden and Finland during the transition time. That is, up to the date they are admitted into the NATO as its full members. So this is what is about NATO. In toto, I can say that NATO is an alliance, a group of nations formed. They are from Europe, and there are some 2 countries are from North America and one from transcontinental. All these 30 people now joined together, and it's a military alliance to safeguard their own security interest. The world is moving very, very faster pace, my dear friends. So many things which we have never imagined are now taking place across the globe. Of course, as I have told, India is extremely safe under the able leadership of our beloved Prime Minister. I hope better wisdom will prevail on the warring fractions, and a truce will take place ultimately, which should save the further destruction of both the life and property. Hope this particular small video of 10 minutes is useful to you. Kindly subscribe to my channel and encourage me. Thank you. God bless you. Srinivas.